A single choke point, barely 21 miles wide, and nearly a fifth of the world's oil passes through it every day. Now imagine it suddenly stops. At the mouth of the Persian Gulf lies the Strait of Hormuz, a narrow stretch of water bordered by Iran to the north and Oman to the south. On an ordinary day, massive oil tankers glide through this corridor, carrying roughly 20% of global petroleum supplies to markets across Asia, Europe, and beyond. It's one of the most strategically important waterways on Earth, quiet, routine, and absolutely critical. But that calm hides a constant tension. For decades, the region has been a flashpoint, shaped by geopolitical rivalries, sanctions, and military presence. The strait itself has no real alternative. Pipelines can only handle a fraction of the volume, and shipping routes can't simply detour around it. The global economy, in many ways, is built on the assumption that Hormuz remains open. Now picture the turning point, a sudden escalation, whether from conflict, blockade, or even a credible threat, and traffic through the strait halts. Not slows down, stops. Within hours, global oil markets react. Prices surge almost instantly, driven not just by lost supply, but by fear. Traders anticipate shortages. Governments scramble for information. Shipping companies hesitate, unwilling to risk vessels in a potential war zone. Within days, the impact begins to ripple outward. Fuel prices spike worldwide. Airlines adjust routes or raise fares. Manufacturing costs climb as energy becomes more expensive. Countries heavily dependent on imported oil, especially in Asia, feel the pressure first, but the shock doesn't stay contained. It spreads through supply chains, affecting everything from food prices to electricity bills. There's also a political dimension. Strategic oil reserves may be released to stabilize markets, but those reserves are finite. Diplomatic channels heat up as global powers push for de-escalation. Naval forces may move in to secure shipping lanes, raising the stakes even further. What started as a regional disruption quickly becomes a global crisis. Here's something many people don't realize. Even the threat of closure can be almost as powerful as the closure itself. In past incidents, brief tensions in the strait have caused noticeable spikes in oil prices without a single ship being blocked. The system is that sensitive. It runs not just on supply, but on confidence. And once that confidence cracks, the effects multiply. Today, the Strait of Hormuz remains open, but the risks haven't disappeared. Global energy demand is still deeply tied to this narrow passage, even as countries invest in alternative routes and renewable energy. The question isn't just what would happen if it closes, but how prepared the world really is if it does. And that brings us back to that narrow strip of water, 21 miles wide, carrying the weight of the global economy. If it stopped tomorrow, the consequences wouldn't unfold somewhere far away. They would reach into everyday life, faster than most people expect. So here's something to think about. In a world so dependent on a single route, should nations be doing more to reduce that risk? Or is it already too late to untangle? If you found this perspective useful, consider liking the video and sharing your thoughts in the comments. And if you want to go deeper into stories like this, where global systems hinge on fragile points, subscribe for more fact-based storytelling. For the next video, take a look at how global supply chains really work behind the scenes. It's the natural next step in understanding just how connected everything is.